Welcome to As The Pokéball Turns, where every trainer has a story. I'm David Hernandez, and I'm joined by SaiyaRan, here to save my tech issues one issue at a time. SaiyaRan, welcome to As The Pokéball Turns. How are you doing?
Hey, man. Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And SaiyaRan, you have such a unique journey because you also have been outside the Pokemon space. We call it the gaming sphere, so you will. And you've also had the privilege of being in the Pokemon worlds, to DreamHack, to convention, Twitch streams, everything. I want to start with this question. What's the one moment that comes to mind that makes you think, yep, this is why I love this gaming community?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I'd have to say specifically when I was at DreamCon and I did a TCG night with another creator named Miss Jordy. And so we did a TCG night and it was great. We had a lot of people there. We had a much bigger turnout than we thought we would. We gave away Pokemon cards. We gave away One Piece. We gave away everything. People brought cards to donate just to give to the community. And it was a moment where I just stopped and looked and I said, wow, these people came out here because they have a love for this one particular thing. But that piece of cardboard was the connector. It wasn't necessarily it wasn't the reason they were there, really. They were there because of the community. And so the Cards and Community TCG night was like I got home after DreamCon, like the days after. This was on Friday. I got home Sunday and I bawled my eyes. I was crying because I was like, wow, I got to tell people that they mattered and the thing they cared about mattered because we were connected to this piece of cardboard, this thing. And I like TCG. I'm not a huge TCG guy. So I felt kind of like a fraud almost, like I was like tricking them to come hang out. But I wanted the community. I wanted the community to come out and know that, despite it being, maybe it was an anime convention or whatever convention, whatever we were doing at the time, they still matter and their interests matter. And I want to be the person to tell them they matter. So it was great. That was the moment I was like, man, I love this. And I need to grow and be bigger and do better so I can do more and reach more people.
I mean, just hearing that, it sounds like you were easily overwhelmed to emotions, afterwards. But you didn't even expect that many people. It must have been humbling just to think that, you were able to kind of create this experience for the community. Don't you think so?
Yeah, it was humbling. It was something that I don't take for granted. As I saw people, because again, this was on Friday. This was the first, day two, whatever, the first official day of the convention. You can think of it like that. And to see these people later on and remember my face and talk to me and then thank me again, like, hey, that was such an amazing time. That hour and a half we had in program room 6, that mattered so much. And I don't know, man, it was truly humbling. And I never want to take that for granted. And so it motivated me to just be better and lead by example better to make sure that I could care more about people.
And I think that says a lot about who you are because, as I was researching you before I sent you the invite, I was looking through your content. The one thing that always kept over again is people or community, one of the two words. And I kind of want to go back to the beginning of before you became, who you are today, before the events, before the content. Where does the root start when it comes to Pokemon for SaiyaRan?
So Pokemon started for me when I was just a young kid. I was probably 3, 4, but I was playing Pokemon Yellow. And so that was the first Pokemon game I actually played that I remember playing. I'm sure I played Red and Blue, but my brother is 7 years older than me. So to him, these are like really cool games from the Game Boy, and so, but to me, I was like a dumb kid playing around. I couldn't even read the text. In fact, the only way I knew what moves were what was because of the anime, and I would hear Ash say tackle attack. So I was like, that must be a really good move. And I would keep tackling all my Pokemon. And it wasn't until I was older and I understood like base power and things like that, where I was like, oh, this move actually stinks. But I always attribute my love to Pokemon to my brother and feeling connected to my brother and him opening my world. Like a lot of the game franchise, there's only like maybe 1 or 2 franchises that I like like I like Zelda. I love Zelda. I have a Zelda tattoo. That means a lot to me because my brother doesn't care about Zelda.
Wow.
But Mario.
Okay.
But Mario is huge for me because of my brother. Pokemon is huge for me because of my brother. Donkey Kong. So a lot of Nintendo franchises and Sony franchises are huge to me because of my older brother. But Pokemon is one of the ones that like he introduced me to that. He showed me Pokemon. I learned how to read by playing Pokemon. Like that was such a huge foundation of my life.
You mentioned how your brother is such a huge, I'll say, catalyst for this journey. In what ways did y'all connect with Pokemon? Like, did y'all play the games together? Would y'all battle? Like, what did that look like, in those early days and even growing up?
So I was the dumb little brother. So I would always just like sneak his Game Boy and try to play. And eventually Game Boy Advance came, or Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, other Game Boys came out. So I would get some of his hand-me-downs. And so I remember how I would have to kind of, because I couldn't read, really fully. So I didn't really know where to go in the game. So a lot of the games I beat in my early days of Pokemon, I beat by muscle memory. Like I know Mount Move cave because, oh, not Mount Move cave, the one after Mount Move. I know the cave, but you need flash because I just stumbled into the wall so many times that I learned the pattern. But I remember, I would get stuck. My brother would help me with this battle. He would help me with this Pokemon, or I want to complete the Pokédex. Like I didn't complete a Pokédex by myself until Gen 4, and that's why Gen 4 is probably my favorite gen because that was the first time that I by myself completed a Pokedex, and I didn't need my brother's help because he was into girls and he was getting into trouble. He was on all that stuff.
Dude, I feel you so much. It's the Rock Tone, I believe is what it's called, to where you're just trying to like navigate without eyes. Because I was too stubborn. I didn't want to teach any of my Pokemon Flash, especially during Gen 1.
Definitely.
So I was like, no, I'm just gonna figure it out and just kind of go blindly in that way. You can see a little bit, but I understand. Definitely respect that kind of tenacity you had.
Yeah. Also, I remember something silly. I used to call it MT Moon. And my brother was like, no, dummy, it's Mountain Moon. It's a mountain. And I was like, how was I supposed to know? I just see MT dot, and I know that word means moon. And so it's just like really funny, random things that come to mind, especially with the anime, because we would watch the anime together. Dragon Ball Z is another thing. I love Dragon Ball Z. That's where my name comes from, SaiyaRan, the great Saiya man, but I'm the great SaiyaRan. And so even that comes from my brother. So my brother has a huge part of my life, and like my nerd culture, my anime, my gaming, all the stuff.
You mentioned how Gen 4 was your favorite region, and you said it was your first Pokedex. Like, what is it about Gen 4 that sticks out to you? Like, what do you remember about playing Diamond, Pearl, Platinum specifically?
So outside of playing the actual games, I'll say this first. That was the first video game I ever like saved up money. Like I was like coined. I remember I had like 34, 56 or something like that in coins. I dumped it to the coin machine, and I looked at my mom and was like, please, I really want to play Pokemon Diamond. Please. She was like, I'll help you with the rest. She didn't even know I was doing it.
Oh, wow.
And so that's like a core memory of me, like my love for games and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to connect with games. And so the reason I love Gen 4 is because of that, but also Electivire is my favorite Pokemon. I think it was cool how Gen 4 gave so many Pokemon like extra evolutionary levels like Magnezone, Electivire. It was just really cool seeing those Pokemon get those extras. And I really like that mechanic. I guess you call it mechanic or that gimmick, I guess. I really like that about Gen 4, and it's still exciting today when we see like Farigiraf. Farigiraf is it's probably one of my favorite Gen 9 Pokemon. One, it's annoying just competitively, but also it's so cool because Girafarig was a Pokemon that was like, meh. And then now you have Farigiraf and it's like ready to turn up and ready to so I think it's cool when they add more Pokemon or they kind of do a callback from things when I was a kid, because I mean me and Pokemon are the same age. We're 30. When you're calling back on Gen 2, it's like I remember Gen 2.
Yep, I always feel old when people say Gen 4 was their first game they were playing it at 3 years old. I'm like, oh my gosh, you are so young right now.
That's crazy.
But I love how you said, like, it's true though, because Game Freak does bring back prior Pokemon. Like you said, Girafarig was a perfect example. Who remembered Girafarig before that? Before it got its evolution? I for sure forgot all about it. And I love when Pokemon kind of brings it back. I loved how they did Corsa. I love the story behind that one, to where it talks, has a very deep story for those who know. And just all the other stuff. You think of Surfetch. Farfetch was so useless for the longest time. We've been begging for an evolution. Now we get Surfetch.
Yeah, no, that's. I think Surfetch was really cool. Again, back to Farigiraf just being one of like a meta threat. When you look at so there's so many Pokemon that like need extra love, and then they did with the Megas too, just giving these Pokemon Megas like Barbonicle, like what?
I know
he needs a Mega, like what? But then we got some Pokemon that still need stuff like Flygon. We gotta show love to Flygon, man. That's crazy. But I do like that they do that, because what it does is it ties people like me who've been playing the games forever. It ties us. Like, I don't feel as attached, and I know people say this all the time, I don't feel as attached to specific, like the starters of Gen 9. I don't feel so attached to, Fuecoco like other people do. I love Quaxly, that was my starter, but I don't feel so attached to Fuecoco. But I feel this really weird, strong attachment to Farigiraf because it reminds me of Girafarig, and that's the nostalgia. So I think that Game Freak has a really good balance of kind of, I don't want to call it nostalgia bait, but it kind of is like nostalgia baiting you and kind of getting the people who are my age who remember these Pokemon and grew up with them and maybe had them on the team years ago and now they're on the team now. And also you have these new people, like my kids love Fuecoco, and I'm just like, all right, cool, Firecroc, whatever,
Now, you mentioned at the time how you were getting interested in gaming and you were just very diving into the nerd culture and everything. Did you have ideas of becoming a content creator at that point, or was it still a little further down the road?
Never, ever did I imagine I would actually make content. The most I had done like in college when I would go on trips, I would do like a little like funny travel vlog, or like I'll just put like a track behind it, like put like a Drake song behind. I went to Toronto,
Yeah.
I put Western Road Flows on it, and then I did like this little movie and showed it to my friends. They thought it was dope. Like that was the most. So I learned how to edit like in college. So I learned the basis of cuts and timing and this and that in college. And so when I started to really create, it was really kind of going back to people in community. It was, I didn't have people to talk to about these games. I had like the PS5. I saw the PS5. I think, let me go back. I think it was the Spawn cast. Some of you heard that podcast. They were doing the episodes, and I was like, this is pretty interesting gaming. I was watching Spawn Way talk about gaming news. PS5 pre-orders went up. I was at work down the street from a GameStop. I said, let me just leave work and go pre-order it. I left work, pre-ordered it. I didn't think it was that big of a deal because people were like, I can't get one. How'd you get one? I was like, I walked in the store. So I had PS5, had Call of Duty, had Spider-Man. Played Spider-Man, had some friends over, and I was playing Spider-Man, Miles Morales, I believe it was. And all my friends were like, are you watching a movie or are you playing a game? I was like, this is a video game. They're like, what? And so it was crazy because I didn't have anybody, like my best friend in the world, he plays on PC, so he couldn't play Spider-Man. He was playing League of Legends. Ew. So he couldn't talk to me about those games. And so I was like, well, I want to talk to somebody about it. So I started talking to the camera. And so that's how content creation happened for me in this particular sphere. But yeah, I think it's interesting where just having this thing in your heart that you want to talk about, that you really enjoy, can really take you.
I think that's the best part of how content's evolved that gets kind of overlooked. I think about myself, when I was into Gen 3, I was a Pokemaniac. I'm still honestly a Pokemaniac, but I was really into, but a lot of my friends were into Halo, Call of Duty, first-person shooter games. I didn't care about that. But the best way to be able to connect with people was over, and still is honestly, sometimes over the internet. And it's kind of cool to see like now you can kind of be that voice and people can kind of connect with your views and what you think about the games. Do you ever kind of feel that connection with other people?
Oh, absolutely. And I have this mantra in my head is community over keyboards. Like there is a community over the keyboard that you develop, but also when I go to these cons, I'm in these conventions and I'm meeting people for the first time face to face, and I'm looking them in their eyes and we're talking about this favorite game, or we're talking about this random, moment in VGC to remember. We're talking about, Astrobot on the PS5 because we're the only two people in the entire room who've played it because we both also play games that aren't Pokemon, So I think it's super important and it's very magical when you can talk to someone about this shared experience and you don't know anything else about them. There are people I've met who they're from the other side of the world or other side of the country, but we have this one thing in common, whether it's Pokemon or it's games or it's fashion or it's music or whatever it is. And now we have this connection. And when I see him, I love him. It's like, oh my God, that's my guy or that's my girl. I think that's the most magical thing about gaming and the internet. And there's some weird and toxic things about it. But when we kind of bring it back to what it's all about, it is about, hey, this is a connection because we have this shared interest.
Now, I know Diamond and Pearl was your favorite generation. What did you think about the remakes? I got to get your opinion on that. Like, do you like them? Do you hate them? Did you kind of loathe them? Where does SaiyaRan fall into that?
I was indifferent. So the art style was something I did not care about. I know people didn't like the art style. I didn't care about it. I thought it was a really interesting way to kind of bring when you think about Diamond and Pearl, they weren't pixel art, They kind of were these more smooth characters, but also they were still on, not that powerful of a device being the DS. So they couldn't have these full models. So when you bring that to modern times, I was like, okay, cool. That makes sense. I get why they look chibi. And then when they transitions to a battle, they're like full. So I get that. I'm not hating on that. The things that annoyed me about Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl was that they did not bring in the platinum things, because platinum is what I loved. Platinum was the reason I loved Gen 4, because platinum was amazing. Like going to the distortion world and finding gear, that was mind blowing to me. And so they didn't do that. Okay, whatever. You're not gonna do distortion world. Okay, make it a mystery event or something. Do something, because that's such a cool concept. Didn't do that. The Pokédex was still lacking. The underground was cool. It wasn't as strong as I would have liked for it to be. There are a lot of things I appreciated about it, and I played it. But after the Elite Four, I was like, I'm not playing this anymore. And I never not play a Pokemon game. I played them because it just makes sense. I put it down. I think I still have my save on my Switch too, and I'm just like, yeah, all right. I remember playing Gen 4 for the first time and talking to every NPC and just being so excited to play a Pokemon game. And when I played Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, after maybe the second gym badge, I was like, something about this. Something about this is off. And the horrible part is that we got Oris. And so I love Gen 3 as well, but we got Oris. And so Now we have like Gen 3, which is peak, and then you have Oris, which is peak, and then it's like for us Gen 4, we're like, all right, man, I guess we got Legends Arceus.
I mean,
I guess
true.
that's
You got
how
Legend Arceus, heck.
yeah, that's how piece of resist all, you know.
Well, as the games progress, you talk about Legends Arceus. We got Pokemon ZA now at this time of this recording. You got Pokemon Champions. How do you think your relationship with Pokemon has evolved with these newer games compared to the old ones?
So originally I was really only into the video games, not competitive, but the video games. And so as a kid, going back to my brother, he collected cards, but I wasn't allowed to touch his cards because that was the one thing he was like, nah, because he had like holos, he had like Japanese cards, like he traded them on, at school. So he had like really, really nice cards.
If he has a Shadowless Charizard, he's a rich man. I'll say that much right now.
I don't think he has that.
Nah, okay. I had to just put it out there,
and so I never really got into the TCG. I think my big introductory to TCG was TCG Pocket because I was like, okay, I really enjoy Pocket. And so that kind of grew me from playing, games on my Switch to now I'm playing games on my phone for Pokemon. And then, you had these mini games come out. You had like, Sleep or Unite or Pokemon Duel. I play a lot of mobile games. Pokemon Duel was one of my favorite Pokemon games. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a very unique game. It's kind of gacha, but they have this really strategic way you play the match. You're trying to get to the center. Every Pokemon has like combat points, and if you're a 5 and you beat the 2, you have 3 left, and you're still trying to get to the middle. So if they have a 4, they beat your 3. It's very strategic. It's kind of like a board game.
Okay.
Pokemon Masters EX. There's just so many games that I just began to like be more open to, aside from traditional. The traditional video games. And so as my relationship with Pokemon grew, I began to love all facets of Pokemon to where it's like, okay, well, I do like the cards. Oh, I do like Unite. I do like these other areas of Pokemon because I love Pokemon. And unfortunately, I am biased. If it's a game, but you like put Pokemon in, I'm like, I'll give it a try.
I mean, that's how I feel with the Pokemon TCG Pocket, especially. I've learned to kind of just love that game. And I'm not even a serious battler, I'll be honest. I'm more of just I like opening the packs. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Every morning I'll open the pack in the morning, and then at the night I save it with my girlfriend and we open it together. And then I also do I'm trying to blank on what it's called, but the one where you pick the random card. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Oh, the Wonder Share.
Wonder Share. So the Wonder Share,
Wonder Pick.
Thank you. Yeah. The Wonder Pick, we'll do that every night, and I have her pick the card, and then she has me pick hers, and it creates this kind of ritual that's around Pokemon that people kind of underestimate, especially when it comes to mobile game. And don't even start Pokemon Masters EX. Like, I've loved that game. Don't play as much as I should, but I just love the story behind it and how much more depth they go with the characters.
Yeah, that's voice acting, which is insane. So I think Pokemon Masters EX came out like right after Pokemon Duel, and after that game shut down or whatever. And so I was like, all right, cool, another Pokemon game. And so there was a gap in my Pokemon journey. Gen 4, for some reason, I don't know where my brain was or what I was doing with life, but I didn't play Gen 5, Gen 6, or Gen 7. So I skipped those 3. I've replayed them now, but I skipped those, and then I came back with. So I remember I went to a GameStop, and they had Pokken Tournament on the Wii U, and I said, this game is awesome. And this is probably during COVID. I was like, man, I really want to play that Pokemon fighting game. What is it? Because I love fighting games. I bought a Switch, and I bought Pokken Tournament DX, whatever, the deluxe or whatever, and I played it on my Switch, and I was like, man. And then I was working with an old friend. We were coworkers, and I said, yeah, I've been playing Pokken Tournament DX. He said, have you tried Sword and Shield? I was like, what? Bought Sword and Shield. Had me back. They had a DLC. I'm playing ladder. I'm like, they got me. I'm back. And then when Gen 9 came out, I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a whole thing. We're about to turn up with this.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
What was it about Sword and Shield that kind of brought you back? Like, what is it about that generation that you remember?
So, because my point of reference was Gen 4 for a traditional video game,
sure,
and mobile games. Those are my 2 points of reference. So going from that, and that's the thing that people really don't understand about Pokemon, how Pokemon to the Pokemon community makes gradual incremental increases of quality that if you play other games, you might not be able to recognize that way. But for me, going from playing Showdown, so that's a browser, playing the mobile games and playing Gen 4 years and years and years ago, to now I'm playing Gen 8 and the characters in full D. The world, I can walk around this little open zone area. I can see Pokemon in the open. Like that was like, oh crap, this is what I always wanted in a Pokemon game. And so I think Cinderace Oh, Score Bunny. Score Bunny is my first starter because I played multiple times. I think Score Bunny is my first starter because if I don't know, I just default to fire just like everybody else. So I had Score Bunny, and me and my Score Bunny tore that game up. I had a Corviknight. Corviknight's one of my favorite
Yes.
Gen
I
8.
love
I
Corviknight.
had a Toxtricity. Toxtricity is so cool. Late game, I got a Dragapult, and I said, that's my guy. Dragapult was pew, 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 Dragon Dart and everything, man. Zacian was cool, but it was really those four. And I remember thinking I don't like the shared EXP because I was used to kind of like grinding every Pokemon individually. That was kind of what my mindset was. But now, as a person with like a job and things to do and videos that like, yeah, give me the shared experience.
Preach to them.
Yeah, my God. But Gen 4 just brought me back, and there were so many cool things. And even the things that may bother people, like, oh, there's no voice act. I wasn't thinking that when I was playing Gen 8 because I was just happy to be back into the magical world of Pokemon. So Gen 8 brought me back and reintroduced me to this thing I really loved. Like, I still remember type interactions, and I was like, what's this fairy type? And I learned those interactions and things like that. And so it was really cool playing that. And Gen 8 was a really good introductory, especially with it being on the Switch.
You know, I will relate to you on that experience for all. I know that it's a very hot topic, but I actually like it. I played Leaf Green when it, came on the download for the Switch. And, of course, you're going back to the old school grinding, and I'm like, I don't got the time to grind these Pokemon as I used to. I've got too much responsibilities or too much stuff to do. I do a podcast and I do all that stuff out of this. So for us adults, it works. If you don't like it, just turn it off. That's all I'm going to say on that.
So I had played through Fire Red. Yeah, I played through Fire Red as a bug type trainer. So I only had bug types, and I went through the entire game. And when I got to the end of the game, I was like, all right, I am 12, 14 levels under level. Do I want to go grind? And I spent like 2 hours grinding. I said, no, I'm just going to keep trying until I beat the Elite Four. I couldn't do it. I forgot who was my flying Pokemon. I hopped on that guy and went back to the league, and I said, we're just going to try this. And it took me about 14 tries. but my Scyther, man, I hit 4 double teams, 4 swords, the answers, and swept.
Well, that's something I was actually wondering because I noticed that, and you also did a bug ranking to get to Masters. What was it about the bug type that made you choose that? Was there a reason behind it, or just...
Honestly, I thought that would be the biggest challenge because bug types are so bad, but I actually ended up loving them so much. Like, it's kind of become my thing. And so I had always said, because, these ports were rumored for years, back on the original Switch, these ports were rumored. So I told myself, and I was like, if they ever bring Fire Red, Leaf Green, I would just do a bug type run because I think it'd just be, it's Gen 3, you got the old rules, the bug types in that gen stink. Like, Pinsir doesn't even learn a bug type move with that crazy attack stat. And so it was like, all right, I'll do that. I think that'll be really fun, like, piece of content. And so I had always said it for years, and then they did it, and I was like, it's time. And I streamed it every day, and then after I got off stream, I would clip the whole thing, like the matches and everything. I would clip all these pieces, and it created this really unique story of me trying to beat this game with bug types using these older mechanics that I knew as a kid, and I knew the interactions as a kid. Like, I knew that all normal type moves were physical, so I could put Hyper Beam on my Scyther, and it was just gonna obliterate because I had 2 Sword Stances set up. So yeah, it just was a random thing I had thought of one day, and it quickly became my thing. And then when I did to Master Ball and Pokemon Champions, that was so tough. I almost gave up on that. It was literally 24 hours left in the season, and I got it with like 12 hours left. I was struggling. Oh my, because it's just Rock Slides and Zard. That's all I was going up against. And I was like, man, I can't do this. This is so hard. But I got there, and I love that team. That team is like forever cemented as like an amazing team. But I was in this seat right here sweating, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna fail. And I was like, I can't fail. I can't give up.
Well, you mentioned how you make clips and content out of this. Of course, you started your content creation around late 2020 after the pandemic. You started to find people who were interested in what you were doing. I want to know, like, since starting content creation then to now, what have you learned most about yourself?
That's interesting. I learned that I am a perfectionist and I am ambitiously lazy. So I'm a perfectionist in a sense of I was watching people like Bob Wolf, some people that I'm able to shake their hand if I see them in real life because we've been able to be in this. I've been able to be in the same rooms as them. People like Bob Wolf who has these very intentional videos with these intentional shots and things like that, and you never see a frame extra or a frame less of what you need to see. And so that was like my standard, and I was like, I'm gonna do it perfect. And then I got to a point where life just got busier. Became a full-time dad, taking care of my boys, back in office. And so I'm like, man, I only really have a solid 3 to 4 hours every night to like lock in. Like, can I really afford to be a perfectionist, or can I just put out quality every single chance I'm able to? And so I had to change that mindset. And even with some of my content, there's still like some things I was like, that's perfect. But there's a lot of times I put out a video, I'm like, that's good enough. And then it does well. I'm like, all right, cool. They didn't notice. They didn't notice this random weird thing I did that I would notice, but nobody else would notice because they're not me. But I had to really learn that and like look at myself, because I see, you could be a Wolfie VGC who puts out a video once a week, or some other content creators put out a video like once a month, and it does very well because they spent their whole month on this one video. It's like, or you could just put out the things you love and make sure that they're quality and do that. And I decided that I would go that route.
I think that's the hardest part because, I relate to you as a perfectionist to where before when I started this podcast, I would like, if I heard a weird whisper or a weird word, I would cut it out. Like I was very meticulous. And like you said, it's just not realistic to maintain that unless you've got all the hours in the day, which, for your life as a dad as well as a career, then, I'm an employed person. We don't got that time. We got to work with what we got. And it's the hardest barrier I think a lot of people run into when it comes to content, because we are our biggest critic, but we also got to know when to step away. And it's so difficult sometimes.
Absolutely. The great thing about being your biggest critic is that no one can out-critique you. I love that, because I'm proud of every video I put out. Even if I'm not 100% sure people will get it or they'll like it, I'm still proud because I made it. And look, I've been on Twitter since I was 12 years old. So I'm already knowing, like, I've seen the trolliest of the trolls. I was on Twitter before I could drive. And so when people try to troll me or anything like that, I'm like, you're going to have to try very hard. I'm also from Alabama, like Birmingham, Alabama, born and raised. Like, you're going to have to troll me. I got real thick skin over here. So that's the great thing about being your biggest critic. And that's why I allow myself to be my biggest critic. Because it's like, whatever critique you have about this video, I've already probably critiqued myself on it, because I post my videos and I will watch my videos 10 times and I'll be like, okay, what can I do differently next time? Because, hey, it's processed, it's out there, I'm looking at the comments. What could I do a little bit differently to be just a little bit better? So, yeah.
Do you have any inspiration of like people you looked up to when it came to figuring out your content pattern or type of content you want to make?
Yes. So I already mentioned Bob Wolf. Bob Wolf was huge. I loved Bob Wolf's intentionality, his scripting. I loved his shots, his B-roll, things like that. I love his humor. And even in real life, like just being able to, like, say, hang around him and other people, just his genuineness shows through his videos, even though his videos are more intentional. And then he's also off video, whether it's on Twitter or on his Twitch streams. He's very, very authentic, very, very New York, very him. So that's the one I look up to. Beat 'em ups. I think Beat 'em ups is a master content creator. And I think that Beat 'em ups is so authentic, and I aspire to be the authentic. Like, I remember Beat 'em ups making videos about, just these things that are happening in his life, and I'm just so locked in because he's such a good storyteller. As you should, as a creator, you should lead into that parasocial just a little bit, because that's good. It's like build a community. But he's just so good at telling a story and connecting people, and I really love that. So shout out to them, because they actually, my Switch 1 Joy-Cons, I got them to sign it at PAX East like 23, 24. Like, I missed their meet and greet, and I ran into one of the producers for Bob Wolf's podcast. And I was like, oh, you're E. And he's like, yeah. I said, oh man, I wanted to get to sign my stuff, but I missed it. So it's whatever. And he was like, oh no, come with me. We'll go meet him. And he like walked me to him. And I was like, what is my life?
What are my odds?
So those two are huge inspirations in Nintendo space. As far as tech and how I like Linus Tech Tips, I like his frequency of videos. I like how he will get the video out. He will get out the stuff you need to know, and he will cut the video. And it's very intentional with your time as a viewer, because he understands that you're a consumer looking for some education on this thing. So I appreciate him. MKBHD, I like how simple his videos are, but they're so they're so damn good. They're cinematic. They're interesting. I remember I would sit, like he would drop a video. I would stop what I was doing. I'll pull it up on the TV and I would sit. I'm like, this guy is good. And then probably my last one will be, it's an Apex Legends creator, actually. His name's So Far. And I love Apex Legends. That's what I started creating first.
Yeah.
That was the first, I was making videos on Apex Legends first. And I was like, this ain't working. I'm not good enough. But I like So Far. I like his videos. I like his personality. I like his energy. He's someone who uploads every single day. And so looking at someone who uploads every single day, you can kind of get the mentality of how he can put out content on the same thing for a season or seasons or whatever. And so when I think about, okay, I know I do variety, but let's just say I want to lock in specifically the champions for the next 2-3 weeks. How can I do a different video on that every single day? Just like this man has done a video every single day on Apex Legends.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, those are my 5. That's my Mount Rushmore.
It's still creative dedication, especially because, you know, Pokemon Champions is what you're doing right now. That must be kind of difficult though to think of that much content at a time, or you just got used to it.
You know, my brain has gotten used to it, but when I go to events like Pokemon Worlds or NAIC and I'm with these, like, Durag Dragon, that dude, shout out to him, man. He's in the UK. That dude, I swear, I thought he was. I said, why do you keep talking to himself? What's wrong with him? Like, why is he not vibing? He was making videos in his head.
Oh wow,
the whole
really?
time we was together. Yeah, so we did. So at Anaheim last year, there was a Pokemon TCG Pocket tournament. It was the first one, and I entered, and it was like you had to put up like $25 to get into it. It was a prize pool. I won packs. I came in 55th. I was like, I'm good, but I played him. He was my last person before we did Top Cut or whatever. And so the whole time I'm sitting across and we're playing. I'm like, why is he muttering to himself? What's going on? He was making videos the entire time we were sitting there, like in his head. And so when I see people like that, it's like, that's the switch for my brain. Also Powder does the daily pack challenge, and he does the cards. Powder as well. Those guys like, I'm around those guys and they're just like, their brains, I was like, yeah, I always have to be thinking about content. So personally, I have more content ideas than I do time, but that means I always have a content idea. So it may be hard, but like I have a series I want to start with champions leading into Pokemon Worlds that I'm really excited about, you know, so stuff like that, you know, you kind of just gotta, it comes naturally after you like force your brain to just be creative like that, but also not overwork yourself, because a really good video could be 10 seconds. Like I did a video, I just handed packs out to my favorite coworkers and I posted it. And I was like, who cares if it does well or not? It's wholesome. It's nice, you know, whatever. It's a personality piece. But, you know, that's just something I randomly thought of when I was walking into work and I had some packs. And I was like, you know what? Let me pass these out to X, Y, and Z.
Well, SaiyaRan, before we go, I want to finish on one fun question. And the question is this. If somebody was going to come battle you 6-on-6, what 6 Pokemon would you bring to the battle?
All right, cool. I'm bringing Shiny Gyarados. Gotta bring Big Red. I'm bringing Electivire. I'm bringing Caesar. I fell in love with Caesar.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna bring Pelipper. Set up some rain. Bring Corviknight. Got to.
There you go.
And because it's popping right now, it's in my brain. Mega Swampert, but Swampert was my Gen 3 starter, so it's not like I'm not just doing this. Swampert was my Gen 3 starter. Like I have a save file on my desk right now of Ruby and Sapphire, and they both have Swampert, so probably Swampert. And I think that'd be a really fun time.
Thank you for listening to As the Pokeball Turns, where every trainer has a story. If this episode resonated with you, share the episode with a fellow trainer and follow the podcast for more voices, more journeys, and more memories. I'm David Hernandez. Remember, your next Pokemon adventure begins here.